The nays are 48. The nomination of Brett M. Kavanaugh of Maryland to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
Vice President Mike Pence announcing the culmination of 14 weeks of controversy, the official confirmation of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court.
Now, President Trump currently on the campaign trail, supposed to be taking off for Kansas. He's expected to make some remarks after the final vote. He said he wants to save that. First of all, though, I think we're hearing that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is going to make some remarks first. Then we'll go to the White House. Let's check in on this conference.
Kavanaugh, and congratulate him on his victory. And also the President. It's a good day for America and an important day for the Senate. We stood up for the presumption of innocence. We refused to be intimidated by the mob of people that were coming after Republican members at their homes and in the halls. I couldn't be prouder of the Senate Republican Conference. We also want to thank Senator Manchin for helping us. And with that, I'll be happy to take a few questions. Yep.
Senator, in your floor speech, you talked about that this has been a dark period and you hope that after this vote you can turn the page to a brighter day. I'm just interested, based on what we've seen the last 3 weeks where both parties have lobbed at one another, we've seen the last 5 years. How do you get to that point after this?
Sorry to interrupt you, but we've seen both sides of the Senate during the same period. During the same period, we were having this huge argument over the Supreme Court. We passed an opioid bill that had been done on a bipartisan basis, and a 5-year FAA extension. We just completed doing the best job on appropriations in 20 years. So we were both able to have a big, robust fight over something both sides felt deeply about and still work together on other issues at the very same time.
But do you think, senators are angry, right? And your side and on the Democratic side, they're like viscerally mad.
These things always blow over. And I think even though there may have been some anger expressed during this particular fight, as I just said, at the very same time, I know it wasn't very newsworthy for you guys because they won by big margins. We were doing important things together that hadn't been done in a long time.
Mr. Leader. Mr. Leader. Mr. Leader. Okay. Mr. Leader, I have 2 questions for you. First, how do you view what impact this is going to have on the court?
I called on the woman behind you.
Okay. Sorry.
Do you have any concerns that if Democrats later control the White House and the Senate, that they could confirm a more partisan Supreme Court justice in the future?
Well, a little history lesson. I've given this to you guys before, but the executive calendar was always done on a simple majority basis until Bush 43 got elected. Always. Even though it was possible to filibuster, it simply wasn't done. So this notion of filibustering executive branch appointments is a relatively new thing, invented, ironically, by my counterpart, currently the Democratic leader of the Senate, who began to encourage the Democrats to use filibusters against circuit court appointments during Bush 43's first term. And then you saw this evolve through several different phases over the next 15 years, leading us right back to where we were before. And there were plenty of contentious nominations when the filibuster was still possible. The most conspicuous example of that, Clarence Thomas's confirmation. Came out of committee with a negative vote, went to the floor, was confirmed 52-48, and all of you know it only takes one senator, just one, to make us get 60 votes. Nobody did. So we are simply back to dealing with the executive calendar on a simple majority basis as we did for 230 years or so down to Bush. And I don't think, this is going to, and it'll advantage the other side at some point, as it always did down through history.
Leader McConnell, what do you think the impact of this will be on the fall midterm election and going forward? Do you think this has long or short-term ramifications for the party?
Well, it certainly had a good impact for us. Our base is fired up. We finally discovered the one thing that would fire up the Republican base, and we didn't think of it. The other side did it. The tactics that have been employed both by Judiciary Committee Democratic senators and by the virtual mob that's assaulted all of us in the course of this process has turned our base on fire. I was talking to two of my political advisors yesterday about the advantage that these guys, by their tactics, have given to us going into these red state competitive races. And we're pretty excited. They managed to deliver the only thing we had not been able to figure out how to do, which was to get our folks fired up. The other side is obviously fired up. They have been all year.
And do you think there's any long-term ramifications in the way the women view the party, and women that are here in the halls saying they've had these situations?
You mean women like Senator Collins and Senator Fisher and Senator Hyde-Smith and Senator Ernst? This was about treating someone fairly. This was about evidence being relevant, not about unsubstantiated charges. Cheryl.
Senator, you've heard several of your colleagues say that the country needs to heal, the Senate needs to heal. Do you think that the country and the Senate need to heal after this? And so what are you going to do to make that happen?
Well, I just finished reading John Meacham's latest book, which is kind of a trip through American history and some of the more challenging periods we've had. This is nowhere near as challenging as some of the experiences we've had in the past throughout our history. The Senate and the country will get past this. We always do. The geniuses who put together this Constitution knew what they were doing, and we've had plenty of low points in our history, and I think this is nowhere near the lowest points we've experienced. The McCarthy era, the rise of the Klan in the 20s after Woodrow Wilson premiered Birth of a Nation in the White House. We've had some other low points. We always get past them.